Many cycling fans think that the sport today is clean. Little more than a struggle of Paniagua champions who are heroes just for getting on their bike and doing a job. Well, those fans have received a hard blow to see how the UCI has provisionally suspended more than 20 pedallers from around the world for different reasons. Amongst them is the 2019 World Junior Time Trial Champion Aigul Gareeva, a daughter of Putin who missed neither more nor less than 3 anti-doping controls to achieve her meagre successes. Do you want to know her story? Well, without further ado, let the show begin. The young Russian Aigul Gareeva stood out since her teenage years as a sprinter and as a time trialist. At just 16, she was proclaimed European Under-18 Road Champion, ahead of Italy's Vittoria Guiazzini, and her name was amongst the most promising in world cycling. It certainly was anyway the following year, 2019, when she decided to put her name out there and decided to become the female Remco Evenepoel. And why not win the most prestigious races on the calendar? Despite doing practically nothing during the season, since Gareyeva combined road and track and was not 100% dedicated to the road races, she still managed masterfully, with big gaps to her competitors in achieving the 2 national titles of her country in the junior category. A small step towards what would be her first great performance of the season. Again the European Cycling Championships, but this time in its time trial version. Showing an enormous skill set on her bike, the young Russian teenager demonstrated that her ability on the big stage was not a flash in the pan, and achieved the best time at the finish line, putting more than 30 seconds into the rest of her rivals. However, a very inspired Dutch, Sharon van Anrooy, won the European gold medal by 2 seconds. A very angry Gareyeva ended up on the podium, but not as a winner in her magnificent year. But really she didn't give a damn. She knew that what the fans really cared about was the World Championships. And there went our kind Russian friend, flying to Yorkshire to try to win the World Championships. Despite the bad weather, and a start that, as you can see, was not at all easy due to the inhospitable weather conditions, Aigul Gareeva that day looked like another rider. Very different from the one that had been seen at the European Championships. She pedalled with such confidence that she even dared to offer us, in one of the descents of the course, and seriously impressively, the Mohoric ball bug position, or for those who only watch cycling during the Tour de France, the Chris Froome position. She was the only competitor who took such risks on the road. The young Russian was totally unleashed, as if she was the Movistar team chasing down some South American cyclist. Gareyeva was so out of it that even in the last kilometre she took a wrong turn in one of the corners and went off piste. It would not be the only thing that the young woman skipped, but we'll get back to that later. What we do know is that she was able to win despite this tremendous failure and solve the problem at the finish line in beating by 3 seconds Sharon van Anrooy, who had beaten her just weeks ago, although the Dutch woman did not make any mistake and was also on very good form. The Russian cyclist thus became world news and achieved the goal that she had been looking for, crying like a Justin Bieber fan when she saw her idol. Only 2 victories in her career outside the Russian motherland, and a European and a World Championship no less. Not bad, but Gareyeva still wanted more. 2 days later, the World Junior Women's Road Race was held, and there we could see how Gareva's batteries lasted. And they lasted like those of the commercial rabbits. Despite the fact that the course was not adapted to her characteristics, much more suitable for classics riders and to women with more endurance and resistance capacity than the Russian, Gareyeva decided that she did not care about the opinion of the fans, and she launched a powerful attack in a wonderful moment with 1.5 kilometres to go to the finish line, after having reached the wheel of the Chilean Sotogrado. Perhaps because of the enormous confidence that she had in her legs, Gareyeva began to pedal as if there were no tomorrow, while behind the runner-up of the Ghent Wevelgem and the Gringa champion, Megan Jastrop, stuck to her wheel like Kevin Costner did to the Russians in American Flyers. Together they reached the final ramp, But with 500 metres to go, the Russian was still leading the effort and taking all the wind in her face. And let's face it, not everything is doping in cycling. To win, you need a good diet, good training, and also good smarts on the road. And on this, Gareyeva failed. And at the finish line, Jastrov stole her wallet to win the gold and the double for the United States, after the triumph in the men's race of the hipster and the Trump fan, Quinn Simmons. An interesting juxtaposition. Gareyeva was so far down that she did not even manage to finish on the podium, and she was overtaken by two other cyclists to finish in a disappointing for her 4th position, especially seeing how radioactive her legs were. However, it mattered little. She had achieved her goal and made the jump to professionalism without going through the under-23 category, and yes, in a modest Russian team. Despite performing well in the first part of the season, she gradually faded, but she was still one of the names to watch in the women's individual time trial at the World Championships. At the Russian Championships, again Gareyeva had performed well, but when it came to Imola, our young protagonist, then 19 years old, dissolved like a sugar cube in the Moscow mist. She was even caught by the Dutch Ellen van Dijk, former world champion in the distant 2013, and she arrived at the finish line completely exhausted, in a disappointing 27th position, at 3 minutes and 38 seconds behind the winner Anna van der Breggen. Her star was fading, but it was understandable. It was her first season in the pros. Unfortunately for her, the young girl who surprised the world had an even more disappointing 2021 season, ending her season in June in an abrupt and strange way. And now we know why. According to the official UCI document on temporary suspensions in cycling, Aigul Gareeva skipped no more and no less than 3 anti-doping controls, in the purest style of the Dane Chicken Rasmussen. Those tests, she neither attended them nor intended to pass them, which is maybe even more suspicious than those who do test positive for any particular substance in the controls. She was notified in September 2021, and since then has faced a 2-year suspension, or less of course if she proves her innocence. But judging from her racing background and her strange way of competing, possibly time will set her in her place, for sure.